1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace before the dark time, before the Empire.
We will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
There is no escape. Don't make me destroy you.
You stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder.
Who is scruffy looking?
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try. The Republic will soon be in my control.
I suggest a new strategy, Art. Let the Wookiee win.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
He has total passion for what he's doing. I mean, don't think I've ever come across anyone so immersed in film.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. You are not a Jedi yet.
You must learn the ways of the Force.
You're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
The Force will be with you, always.
I am the Father.
Be in love with this thing for at least 4 or 5 years and probably for the rest of your life.
Pablo, in one of my favorite series of all time, which is named How I Met Your Mother, one of the characters, I know what I'm getting to, one of the characters says to Seattle, which is a very fan of Star Wars, that the only people that haven't seen Star Wars are the characters in Star Wars because they live the films, right?
Right.
He's Pablo Hidalgo. He's one of the main guests at the Comic-Con 2017 in Chile from 26 to 28 of May. You're going to talk to people, you know, revealing truth, upcoming projects, everything in between. He's the guy that knows the universe of Star Wars from inside, outside, back and forth, everything from video games to movies to my beloved Clone Wars, Rebels. So Pablo, is a pleasure to have you in Séptimo Vicio in the headquarters of Walt Disney in Disney Chile.
Thank you for having me. Nice
Great to know you.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I get you into urban legend domain?
We could try.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Depending on the age you have and the New Hope film you saw, the remastered one, or you know, maybe what I'm getting to is that who fired first? It's an eternal question. I know you have. This is not the first time you have.
Sure.
It's the cliche question, but since I have you here, I must ask it.
If you saw the movie in 1977,
the Han Solo,
without question,
shoots, right?
Yeah.
Greedo.
Yeah. If you saw it in 1997,
it's Greedo who
fires first and misses.
Yeah, misses.
If you saw it in 2004, they shoot at the same time. So it might be depends where you sit in that bar or something, you know.
So Star Wars, you know, develops his own urban legends as well.
Yeah.
You know, the name of the bartender at most is Wooher.
Wooher, yeah.
Wooher, right? Please tell me, because this is a geeky question. Please tell me what is the favorite drink? You know, has to do with Greedo of Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt? Oh boy. Well, there is a story out there.
Yeah, I know.
That Wooher, being environmentally conscious, took Greedo's body and recycled him into a drink that he made for Jabba the Hutt. I don't know if that's true or not. I think Jabba's more of a pisco sour kind of guy. But maybe he likes a Greedo sour. You never know.
Since in Santiago, Chile, the weather is so Tatooine, you know, a pisco sour may go very well in our body. You know, I think you're one of the guys who, I told you this before, you're one of the guys who, for me, is a missing link between the, I don't know how to call them, analog Star Wars, the first trilogy, you know, because you have to get along with Dennis Muren, optical visual effects,
Sure,
wizard, Ben Burt, the sound guy, master at his work, Phil Tippett. I don't know, you have known so many guys who come along with the original ones, and you have all the way, you know, of knowledge, and you have to know every detail, every, you know, creature, artifact, I don't know, planet, character, and how do you absorb those days and get to these days where we have Infinity Wars, Star Wars, we have Battlefront, we have, I don't know, a so expanded universe, and how do you keep all that in your head? I mean, you know what I'm getting to?
No, it all comes from passion, though. It all comes from passion. This is Star Wars for me, before it ever became a professional thing, was a place that I would voluntarily go to. It was a world that I wanted to go to and study and learn about. And it happened, and it happened so perfectly that it shaped my interests and other things beyond Star Wars. So Star Wars, for me, cultivated an interest in visual effects, cultivated an interest in sound effects and music and editing and all that. And just getting an opportunity to talk to those pioneers and actually be friends with them is amazing. So,
let me touch you. You have been with great people.
But what's funny is they all have different passions as well that they'll talk to, and you realize that they may not have come into this as Star Wars fans because Star Wars didn't exist when they were making it, but they were fans of something else that they expressed as well. I had a great conversation when I first met Ben Burt, and I was trying to don't be a nerd, don't be a geek, don't be that guy, totally fanboying over Ben Burt. So I told myself, let's not talk about Star Wars, and I'll just want to talk to him about whatever he's interested in. And I ended up having a long conversation with him about Warner Brothers cartoons, Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
He was a big fan of the sounds in those cartoons. And so it's always interesting when you're able to find a topic that sparks their imagination the same way Star Wars sparks your imagination.
We're talking about the same guy, you know, Chuck Jones.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc,
you know?
and Ben was really interested in this guy named Tregowith Brown. Treg Brown was the sound designer of Warner Bros. Cartoons. I'm
going to talk to you about one of my crazy favorite moments of the Star Wars universe, which takes place in Clone Wars. For the ones that doesn't know, Clone Wars has the talent of Tartakovsky behind, which is the guy behind Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory, you know. And there is this episode called The Hunt for Zero.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Which is an amazing... do you ever think that Jabba the Hutt will have a grandmother? Well, she's called Mama the Hutt. And it has a Jedi fortune cookie that said that love comes in all sizes and form. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it has a dance number and you know, a song, which I think has a reference to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I think there's a connection there. And that is one of my all-time favorite moments. I mean, it doesn't belong to a movie, but Star Wars is so much more than just the movies, right? Which are your crazy favorite moments?
If I had to take an absolute favorite moment on Star Wars, and it's not crazy, but it's the one that always gets me excited, is The Empire Strikes Back, when our heroes are on Cloud City, stormtroopers are firing at them, and R2 is trying to open the door to the landing pad that leads to the Millennium Falcon. And he does, and the second he opens the door, the music starts. And it's almost like the orchestra is behind that door, because the second the door starts, then the heroic music starts, and R2 saves everyone's day. That is my favorite single Star Wars moment, because R2-D2 is my favorite character, because he always saves the day. And that is probably the best moment of him saving the day.
You know, about, you know, R2-D2 and the, you know, influence of Kurosawa in you know, in the Hidden Fortress, you know, movie, which all you guys have to see, you know, to get the connections between the person, the character Yuki and Princess Leia, and you know, the Star Wars has the perspective point of view of R2-D2 and
C-3PO. Yeah, and that was based on the peasants that followed the adventure of the larger-than-life heroes in the Hidden Fortress.
And one of the things, you know, because we are in an age of superheroes, you know, and I think that you guys have built a sacred pattern, you know, because on a Star Wars, which Jedi's only use the lightsaber when it needs to be, which is a thing so samurai, you know.
Absolutely.
They don't get to get muscular, and you know when I'm,
yeah, they don't overpower their enemies.
Yeah. They don't go with the times that reign right now, which
no,
is,
I know. It's the lesson, and I think this is such an important lesson. The most Jedi thing that Luke Skywalker ever does is to throw aside his weapon. And I think there's a lesson in there, in that, you know, you can't overpower. In that case, he couldn't overpower the enemy. He had to bring out the compassion in his father, and that's ultimately what won the day. So the Jedi philosophy, I think, is something it's not an easy philosophy, but that's what makes it worth pursuing.
Yeah, I think maybe kids that are growing up on so many movies right now that had action-packed fire, you know, everything has to be, you know, quick in development and everything. It is great, you know, to still get that sense of timing, of patience behind the Star Wars. Yeah, you know,
and that's a lesson we try to put into Star Wars Rebels, where we have a young character, Ezra, learning the ways of the Force. And one of the lessons that Kanan, because Kanan witnessed the failure of the Jedi in the Clone Wars, is trying to tell Ezra that sometimes, you know, the solution isn't, we're not going to defeat the Empire through brute force, because that's what our enemy is. And I think it's an important lesson to tell.
So maybe there's an analogy which, you know, zombies nowadays run, you know, because it goes with the rhythm of the age. But Darth Vader don't run. You run from. You
run from Darth
Vader, right?
We experience this so much with our video game partners, and there's a practical reason why our video game designers want Darth Vader to run, because he has to move from A to B in a fast motion. And we're like, but Vader doesn't run. So we don't want to see animation of Vader running, because it breaks the character.
So I must ask this question, because, you know, it was a blow, you know, a really heartfelt, you know, hit to our souls, you know, everyone who loves Star Wars, which is the Carrie Fisher, you know, death. How it struck with you, and how it, you know, maybe preconfigure everything that goes from here? You know?
It was such a difficult time, and it hit. Carrie passed away when the offices were closed for the holiday break. So we weren't with each other when it happened, you know. So it was when we came back to the office the following January that we really started talking about it and what it all meant. And honestly, I don't think we had an opportunity to really give closure and say goodbye until this past celebration. We were able to not only see what Carrie and Princess Leia meant to thousands of Star Wars fans and millions of Star Wars fans around the world, but we had the opportunity to say the things that we needed to say. And I thought Billie Lourd, her daughter, did an amazing tribute to Carrie at Celebration. So one of the things that's, you know, this bittersweet, fortunate thing is Rian Johnson worked so well with Carrie in making The Last Jedi that I think ultimately, even though it was never intended to be so, it ends up being an incredible tribute to both Carrie and Princess Leia. So I'm glad that she is featured in the way that she is in Star Wars Episode 8. Where we go into the future is always, you know, it's something that we always examine and figure out what makes sense. But, you know, the character of Princess Leia will always live on, and that's because of what Carrie imbued her with. So I think people who are fans of Princess Leia can look forward to continuing to learn about that character and see her. For instance, we've got a book coming out that features her teenage years. You know, I don't think we'd ever be done telling Princess Leia stories.
I saw these documentaries about his mother and you know, Carrie Fisher, which is an amazing documentary. You should see his stand-up, you know, comedy, Wishful Drinking, which is awesome. What do I tell my kid? You know, he's 6 years old. He has seen 3 Star Wars movies, and it's job to be done. He has seen more Star Wars, you know. So I'm going to be alive when the things end, or is my son, you know, the next generation, which see the complete catalog.
Here you go. Your son now you have to shape your son to carry on the responsibility that you had and introduce Star Wars to his children. And that way it'll keep propagating forever and ever and ever. I mean, there's an assurance with Star Wars in that it'll always be there. But at the same time, because it takes place in its own universe and has a galaxy full of characters, it'll never feel like we've exhausted every opportunity, because there's always going to be a new filmmaker, a new writer, a new storyteller that'll give us a new perspective and introduce us to new characters in that setting. And that's what's amazing about what George Lucas created. He created it 40 years ago, and it's so open-ended that it can continue going on forever and ever. And that's not a bad thing. It's not like work, because it could be something where you could step away from it for a while, but it'll always be there waiting for you to come back. So
you get a sense that the original directors of the first trilogy, you know, George Lucas, Irving Kershner, Richard Marquand, in J.J. Abrams, Gareth Edwards, and Rian Johnson, have, you know, an heritage? Have you know, the force with them?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's. I think Ryan talked about it at Celebration, where he was talking with Mark Hamill about taking on the movie, and he said, you know, it's a scary proposition. I think every director faces the fact that they are going to be in charge of this world-beloved franchise, but they get over that, and they look forward to telling their story and putting their mark in the series. And it's an incredible opportunity. All of them have been super respectful, and they realize that Star Wars is this treasure that they get to visit. And part of what I do is give them the assurance of, yes, it's okay to invent. Yes, it's okay to do something new. No, you can't do that because that would violate something we've established. But yes, you can do that. So they've been very respectful about what has come before, but they've also been super excited to establish new things that we've never seen before.
I mean, you didn't make the obvious calls, because Rian Johnson comes from Looper and Gareth Edwards comes from Monsters, which is an amazing movie. So you didn't make the obvious call.
I think all of them are being, you know, the directors are being hired by having a passion for what it is that they're doing. So it doesn't come from looking at a checklist of who has done a blockbuster movie, who has done this business during the first opening weekend. We don't handle it like that. My boss is particularly Kiri Hart, who heads up the story group. It's almost like casting. In the same way a director casts an actor to bring a character to life, she talks with directors and understands what their motivations are, what they want to do, and casts them for the movie. When she met Gareth Edwards and talked about what is it about Star Wars, what did you want to do with it? And Gareth said, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to join the Rebel Alliance. And of course, he's then the perfect director for Rogue One.
Pablo, the world is celebrating 4 decades of Star Wars. You know, Comic-Con is expecting your visit. You're one of the main guests. Comic-Con takes place in May 26th to May 28th. What are your expectations in Chile? This is your first time here. Let me tell you that Pablo, born in Chile, then at a pretty young age, went to live to Winnipeg, and then you know, Lucasfilms opens you know, the door for you. What are your feelings right now?
Well, I was at Chile Comic-Con 3 years ago, and it was really great seeing the passion there. And now, you know, there's a great opportunity to talk about 40 years of Star Wars. So what I'm expecting is to see a lot of the fans that I've been very fortunate enough to meet around the world come here. You know, every time we do a Star Wars celebration, no matter where it is in the world, I'll see fans from Chile. And so I think it's a great opportunity now to return the favor to come to Chile and see them here on their home turf. Honestly, you know, we'll just talk about Star Wars. The big thing that I like being able to do is just answer whatever questions fans may have. So regardless of what I may bring and show and talk about, I want to turn over a large portion of time to the fans with a microphone and just ask me what you want. I may not be able to answer all your questions, but I do want to hear from you.
You know, I want to finish this interview, you know, asking you, you know, the kids, childs, you know, have the most original and great questions of them all, you know. I want to ask you, what is the most original, you know, question a kid has to tell you? Has asked you, because, you know, while you're thinking it, you know, my kid, which is very, very, very young, asked me, he has all this confusion in his head, because he thinks Guardians of the Galaxy is Star Wars, because the main character is called Star-Lord.
Right.
So I have to, you know, separate those things, and he thinks they
I'd let him
are
run.
the same. Huh?
I'd let him run with it.
Yeah.
I'd let him do that, because
go
who
with
knows?
it.
He might come up with something amazing. He might come up with a story about Rocket and Yoda meeting and hanging out. That'd be amazing. One thing I've noticed about kids who ask me questions is that maybe 90% of the time they already know the answer. What they want to do is show me that they know and then give me more information. So a kid will ask me, hi, what kind of ship does Darth Maul fly? And I'll say, well, that's, he flies a Sith infiltrator. That's what he flies. And then the kid will say, yeah, and it's a scimitar made from CNR systems, and it's a Star Courier ship. Like, they'll start telling me all this. It's like, you knew. You already knew. You just wanted to show the world that you know Star Wars, and I think that's great.
Pablo, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And your knowledge, and your sharing those experience with us. We are finishing this interview with the trailer from The Last Jedi.
Excellent.
Anything you want to tell us about that?
Well, I mean, there's not much I can say because the movie's still coming out. I will say the latest issue of Vanity Fair has some amazing photos taken by Annie Leibovitz from behind the scenes of The Last Jedi, and you'll be able to see characters in beautiful photography. So more and more information is coming forward over the next few months, and it's super exciting.
I hope there's more than only one Last Jedi.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Thank you, Pablo.
Just breathe. Now, reach out. What do you see?
Light. Darkness. A balance.